Ze entros masach the kohen in Rish in the Zechar in the Rosh Hashanah. Ze ayem is going to Rosh Hashanah Yom Bria Adam. That's Aleph Tishri, which is the Yom Bria Adam. The Yom Zeh, them talking Chazal, that's the Nuschat Tefillah, that this day is a Tchilas Kol Masach. We don't only say, there is a Pirush that Rebbe brings look at the Torah, that Masach is going on the person Dafke. Tchilas Masach means Masach is going on the other. So that's a Pirush. We heard the Rebbe teaches like other places in Chassidus, that Zayim, which is Rosh Hashanah, even though it's the day that Adam Rishon was created, still we call it the day of the beginning of Kol Masach. So that's a Pshat, that Masach is going on Bria Adam. I hear the Rebbe saying that Tchilas Kol Masach. Then the Shal Afal Pi, that the world is created b'Chafei Be'el, Nivra Elam. Mikol Mekeim, Eni Nikr B'Shem Tchilas Masach. What's the Pashta Pshat? Because Le'nishlam B'Bei Kavanas Abriya. Ad Le'yem B'Av L'Mayis Abriya, Yem Brei Adam Rishon. The Pasha is the Kavanas, She'oz Nishlam Kavanas Kol Abriya. The Pasha's Advarim is that, you say, the Rebbe doesn't mean over here, it's major B'Yurim Chassidus. The Pasha's Advarim, that the ultimate purpose why the world is created is for the sake of the person. So if a person, if someone makes a machine, or someone's making something, and the purpose why you're making the whole thing is for a certain goal, so that goal is not there, so it's as if the machine didn't start yet. Technically, someone's building a table, and you made a few beams, the amudim at the bottom, you still didn't put the board, which is the main function of the table. So of course, once the board is ready, you're going to call it that now is the beginning of the table, even though you already had the amudim there before. But the amudim is not, that's only a preparation, that's only the hachana. What you want is the table for the sake of what the table is, for the board on top. Without having the board on top, you don't have the mitzvahs of the table. So Al said, even though there was already Shemayim Ba'aretz, Tzemeach and Doimim, before Yom Shishel Ma'aseh Bereshis, before Yom Bria Adam, but it's not considered that the world began yet, because the matara for everything is that there should be a person. So the Mitzvah Sabriya started on the day that Adam Rishon was created. That's the Pashta. I think that's the way the Marsha explains the Gemara there. This Zayim Tchilas Masach. She'az Nishlama Kavanas Kol Abriya. That's when the entire purpose of why the entire world was created was Nishlam B'Yem Bria Adam. L'chein Yem Zeh Dafke U'Tchilas Kol Masach. Even though the Poel Mamash was already animals there before, but the animals that's not the world didn't begin yet with the fact that you have animals. That's only a preparation for the sake of a person there. Chosman, the person is not there, so the main function of everything didn't start yet. It's all one unit, the world, and the purpose of this world is for the sake of the person. Chosman, the person wasn't there, it's not as chali yet of masa. So this is the Pashta Pshat. Here the Rebbe brings us the way the Friedrich Rebbe asks the kasha of how do you call Yom Bria Adam Tchilas Kol Masach? There's the way the Friedrich Rebbe asks the kasha in Hamshich Tishri Tavshin Dalet. And the Fizeh, the beer that the Rebbe brought before, is not a beer mastic. So the beer that we have told now is, you're right that the Shemayim Ba'aretz existed before, but it's not. You're missing the main function of what this universe is. And when the main function is there, that's when you could call that the story began. That's the Pashta Pshat. Then bring there Behini Bezesh Shana Tchilas Masach Yidu Mashamakshe Chadmu Chadmur Behemshach Shana Tavshin Dalet. So the Friedrich Rebbe is Meirach Olay Riches that the musik of Seder, how much the meaning of Seder of Kedima V'Icher is negeya in different dargas. He goes through the whole Nefesh Adam where it's that the lower the dargas are, the more it's negeya the musik of Seder. So just say for example one point that he says Mashal Seichel Umidis. So Seichel is also negeya the musik of Seder. If a person doesn't have a clarity of what's the hakdama to the Indian and what's the maskana of the Indian, everything is mixed up by him, so he's not going to have a correct understanding of the Indian. You don't know what's the Yisaid, and what's the Tetzah, what's the Cheshbon, and what results of the Cheshbon. You have things in the Mavul the Kaif and not Masudar, so you don't have a Richter Kefashtan in the Indian. But it says, Afa B'Kein, even if a person doesn't have a Seder in the Dvar Muskal, the Payal, the Etzim Indian of Seichel, to be Mischaken, to have Chrifus, to have a Sharfus Svar, even if it's not a correct Svar. But the idea of having a sharva svar you could have, even if you don't have the Seder Noch in the Indian. If someone, let's say, doesn't know the Seder of a certain sugya, let's say, the background of it, he could still be Mechadish a Svara and a certain sharf guy, he could say something sharp, he could use the Keiches HaSeichel, even though it's not Snishkin Emes Svara. Even someone which uses Cherifus in a Svara which is not Emes, the Poyal is Cherifus Sichlis over there. The Poyal is, he's using his mind, and he's using out Tchunis of Seichel. Mashiach in lower dargas, he says there that if it's not Masudar and if it's not clear where the things are holding, the whole inyan doesn't exist. Figure brings a common dogma that the lower the darkest are, the more negay the inyan of Seder. What's negay is, we'll see what's negay here. So the figure brings like this. Hari b'chol inyanim tzarich li Seder. B'frat inyan abriya. So the figure is Meirich that Lamashal will speak about Seder Shalshals. So you have certain things that the inyan is emes misadatzme. The inyan is the inyan amiti. So there, the musik of Seder, of Kedima ve'ichur, is not so important, let's say. But you have the Mashal Seder Shalshals, so the whole Metzias of Elam is Makom Zman, which Makom Zman means Kedima ve'ichur, means it's a mukbaltika world, and everything only has its space in the Makom Seder Shalshals, which is Mechayev is Metzias. Let's say Svara. So Svara is only true within Elam HaSeichel. Within the world of Midas, let's say, or within a higher world, the whole idea of a Svara doesn't exist yet. So in a Davar Mukbal, the Metzias of the existence of every Metzias is based on the Gedarim, which is Mechayev this Metzias. So the Metzias of Elam Haza, only after there's the Misgeres of the Geder of Makim Gashmi, or the Geder of Zman of Makim Gashmi, only then there's an Isinas for the Metzias. The more higher you go, and the more the Metzias are not so much Tali and Akbala, so there's less Negeya, the Musik of Seder. But the more you're speaking about Dargas which are Mukbal and Zman and Makim, so the whole Hatzdaka for Metzias is that within this framework, this Metzias has an Isinas Makim. So when we speak about Negeya Telam Hazal, the fact that the person was created less is not just that technically we created him less. It's because the Metzias Adam only has an Isinas Makim after there's already Shemayim Ba'aretz. And after there's already Tzemech and Chai, only then there's an Asinas Magim for a person to exist. Before the Shemayim, the person is a Metzias Gashmas, let's say. That's Yed Einer versteht. Before you have a Shemayim Ba'aretz, Kenzach Nishtani even a Metzias of a person. So the fact we're dealing with a Metzias which is Mukbal, and what gives space for this being is that within this and this, only after there's Shemayim Ba'aretz, and only after there's whatever the Gedarim are, only then is misafshed Metzias of a person. Because we're dealing with Davar Mukbal. Davar Mukbal, the wholeness in Asmanga for a Metzias only begins where there's Gedarim which are Mechayim, which gives space for him. The same way you say Davar Gashmi, if there's no space, he can't exist. So every Metzias Mukbalis only exists within the framework which is Ma'afshed this Metzias. So the fact that the person was created B'yem HaShishi is not just random. He was created on Friday. Because inside the Gedarim of Seder Shashalos, the Metzias of Adam could only exist only after you have the Akdam of Shemayim, Ba'aretz, and Tzemech and Chai. Figures on Mavar what? He just says, the more they were dealing with Dargas which are Mukbal, the more the inyan of Seder, of Kedima V'Icher is Negeya. So the same way we stand in Advar Seichel. You have something you have a Svara which is a Titzah of a different Svara. So the whole Nesinas Makim, the whole legitimacy of this idea is as a result of another idea. So you can't speak about the Svara which is built on the first Svara without first being Makim the first Svara. And Al Derav said, the more you go in Dargas and Muchas Yeseh, a Metzias Mukbal and Zman Makim, the fact that the person created the Yem HaShishi, that means that only that stage of Seder Shashos, that stage of Zman, is misafshed the Metzias of a person. Before that stage in time, so there is no space yet, so to speak. The Metzias is not ma'afshed yet, the Metzias of a person. So Meir the Rebbe asks, how could the pasuk say, even if we're going to explain, but doesn't Taisha says this is where the Rebbe is bringing it over here. Even if we're going to say that the Shleim was Metzias Adam, that the Shleim was Kavanah Sadriya, the ultimate purpose why they created the world was for the sake of a person. But Ava Bikain, it's not right. It's not correct to use the term Tchila Ma'amasech on something which is home Metzias is only misafshed after the Akdam of the things before. Even if in a certain degree the person was created, there is a certain asal. But since we're dealing with Dvarim Mugbalim, we're dealing with the Inyanim of Maisa, the lowest Inyanim of Seder Shashlos. So the musik of Seder is an Inyan Ikri. It's not some technically the person was created the sixth day. It's only in that point in time. It's misafshed the Metzias Adam. So it's not shaykh to use the term Tchila on Metzias Adam, even because the Payal, he needs to have the Akdam of the days before. So how could he call his coming in a beginning when Ba'etzim his home is only misafshed after the 5 days before? So if it's glad as the way this shayla regularly asks this is, how could you say B'riyas Adam is Tchilas Masecha, the person was created last? So the Torah says there's a certain nekuda where the world begins when the person is created. But here the fact is created last is because the Metzias is only misafshed after the Akdam of the Shisha Yom. So Evazeh, how could you use the term Tchila, which is the beginning, and we're dealing with Maisa, which Maisa there, and we're dealing with the musik of Maisa, there the musik of Seder is Negei, and the person is only a Titzah, only comes after this world before. The way the figure doesn't bring this this beer before, he just when he's asked this kasha, how do you say Tchilas Masech and Yem Brias Adam, L'chora, the person was created, Yem Ashishi, so he's made a whole arichas they're going to get to say the K'dim B'yichur. But the Rebbe is taking it that this shaila is, mitzad this shaila, so the beer that we gave earlier is not a beer master.
What's the Davish Dafka and myself and Ruchnis is for
because if the Indian, if you're dealing with the person the way he is mitzad the Mechusa Adam, let's say, the Adam not the way he is a chelik of a biological being, Medaber, and Seder Shlasha, dealing with the Mechusa of an Adam. So the Mechusa of an Adam is an Indian even without having Shamayim Baritz. That's an Indian of Adam, let's say. The Mechusa of Adam. Not the Adam as a Netzias Gashmis, as one of the four Sugma of Din Tzemeh Chaim Medaber. As an Indian of the Chleis, a Mechusa of Seichel, let's say. Mitzad the Indian, so that's Shaykh the whole Musik of Seder is not again. I think it was married there. The more you're going to higher dagas, it's more to negate the Mechusa Indian. There, it's not to negate the Musik of Seder. Adam is an Indian, Sameach is an Indian, but when we're dealing with Maisa is the way the Indian play themselves out in Elam Hazeh and Agash and Gavel. There, the fact that the human being was created after them Sameachai, because that's in his Mitzias, is Misafshe. Let's say that's not the beer the figure brings it, but let's say the person is the highest category. First, you have to have the lowest, the most basic being is Leimin, then Sameach, and only after that you can build and go on to Medab. So you can't use the term Tchila when you're dealing with Maisa on something which is home is only misafshe after something else. That's correct. That's the chol of the kavana here. But hine bezesh shana tchilas masach. Yidu ma shemakshach hakmu chadmol. L'hamshich shana tafshin dal. So the figure says that bechol hein yonim tzarich liyaseder. Befrat b'inyan abriya. So mele v'erta shayla ve'eich emrim al yem vav l'mayse bereishis shu seif abriya shu tchilas masach. Hagam ch'nesh mevar given. That the ultimate kavanah is for the sake of the person. The fiber to some group tchilas kol masach. So Mashmos says that according to the beer and tafshin dalit, but I'm talking about tzveitel beer. It's not enough when we're dealing with Maisa. It's not enough to say beer and that the person is the ultimate goal. You have to say that he's the beginning within the sequence of Maisa. And Maisa is that he's he initiates everything. He doesn't initiate. His Metzias only comes after the Metzias in Shekadmu giving this in a small. That's the that's the pshat. So that's the Rebbe Azabart. Klol Sabir bezehu. The Mikul Sabir is the klol is in Kalei Shtashlu so Misadaratzim Lucha. Masha Oliver Seni is Baruch Hamna Emlich. There is not only dealing with his Havas Ha'elam, but the whole Seder Shtashlu is in the Veh Misadaratzim that Oliver Seni is Baruch Hamna Emlich. And Pchinas Amlucha Kameishi Barazim Hamna Emlich. Any in Amlucha Kameishi on the Vrah Mifradim. Kim Pchinas Amlucha Kameishi Beterem Kol Yitzrim Nivra. Pchinas Remes Visnasas Atzim. And as the Alter Rebbe brings us in Tanya that the Siba why the whole world is created is because Oliver Seni is Baruch Hamna Emlich. But Alter Rebbe brings it in Tanya in Sheikh Adamuna takes Anders with the Rebbe Zakta. There the Alter Rebbe is saying that the fact that the world is created as a Metzias of a Dover Zar, as a Yesh which is not Batal Telekos, a Metzias B'fnei Atzmi, which is Zarim B'Rechaykim, is because all the Ebesher, the Oliver is saying it to be a Melech. And a Melech B'lei Am, you cannot be a Melech if you don't have a Metzias of an Am, which is Zarim B'Rechaykim B'Nefradim Melech HaMelech. If someone that relates, that's close to the Melech HaMelech, he relates to the Melech, so then you don't need to have, that's not the Musik of Mlucha. The Musik of Mlucha is that the Am is an independent Metzias, which are Shalei Be'er after the Melech HaMelech. They don't have a Asag in the Melech HaMelech. And then after they came, they're Bataltim. That's the Midas HaMlucha. There's a certain Midah B'nefesh Adam, Midas HaMlucha. A person has the ability to lead a Metzias which is different, which is distant from him. Different type of Tchuna. That's the Chassidus that Al-Bonim can't resign the Musik from Melech. Because Bonim are Margish to Metzias Ahab. So the Tchunas HaMlucha is that a person has the ability to direct or to lead or to be Meishel on a Metzias which is far from him, which have no regesh of kiruv towards it. That's saying what's the longest of this Midas HaMlucha. But it's a special midah that a person has in Basar Adam, the ability to be Meishel b'Shelet and a Metzias which is Shalei Be'erev the Melech. So that's the Alter Rebbe's beer. If this Havas would have been, if in Shalemis had Midas HaMlucha, if for the sake of the Ebesher bringing, expressing, let's say, his Midas HaChesed, so we wouldn't need to have an Eilam which is Zardim B'Rechaykim V'Nefradim Midas HaMelech. You could have a world that Chatchilis, you're able to be margish in the world that its whole purpose is to express the Ebesher's Chesed. For that, for the Nekudah of expressing the Ebesher's Midas, you don't need to have a world that's Zar V'Rechaykim Midas HaMelech. That wouldn't have expressed the fact that the Ebesher is a Melech. He has the Tchuna, so to speak, of being Melech, being Meishel, of being the Balabas over a Metzias which is distant from him. That's a special Tchuna that a Melech has, to be able to be Meishel B'Shelet on a Metzias Shirachaykim Imenu. in order to bring out that tchon in the Lukus, the Eibisher is a melech, hat man gedacht, Vashafen HaYesh. Das sagt Alter Rebbe in Tan. So the Ratzon an Emlich is a beer, weiss, in this Hagvar Welt, which is Zar, which is a Yesh, and which is far and distant from the Eibisher. Here the Rebbe brings that zweite Zach. Here the Rebbe is dealing with the Darga of the Oliver Tzenius, but this klolus in Kolei Shtashlos. The fact that there's the whole Mitzias of Seder Shtashlos, the whole Indian of Tzir, of Akbala, the fact that there's the whole Indian of Seder Shtashlos, that's Nevem, it's at the Ratzon of Ano Emlich. So the Rebbe is dealing with Ano Emlich the way it is in Atzmos Ein Sof. In the Lukus, the Lukus is higher than Seder Shtashlos. What is the reason why there's the whole Mitzias, the whole system of Seder Shtashlos? The reason why there's the whole Seder Shtashlos is because Oliver Tzeni is Baruch and the Lukus with the Eibisher is beyond Seder Shtashlos. The Eibisher is ain't safe. Higher than Seir, there Oliver Tzeni is Baruch HaMe'em. So when that another sort of Melucha. There is Melucha, Malchus, there's Eshes Firis in Atzilus. It's Chod, the Eibisher is, the Eres is Melubish, and Chachme, and Bina, and Das. And then, Aderech Yiseb Negeta person, there's Kerech HaGluim, there's Chachme, Bina, Das. And then there's the Midah of Melucha. The tchuna of being able to be emotional on someone else. That's Malchus, the way it is in Sfiras HaMalchus, one of a Sfira Protas and Atzilus. And that's what Alter Rebbe speaks about, that the reason why the world is a Sabbath, Mitzias Yesh, was in order to express the Midas HaMalchus, in Amluch. The reason for the entire Musig of Seder Shalshal, so the whole Indian of Tzir, is because all of the Tzeni's Baruch of the Ein Sof, which is beyond Seder Shalshal, is Ana Emle. So Retzach Nish Melucha als a Sfira Protas and Atzilus. We're dealing with why there was the whole, why wasn't Nischavish the whole Musig of Elam Atzilus? Why Bechlal the whole Seder Shalshal was Nischavish? That's because Oliver Tzeni's Baruch of the Ein Sof Ana Emle. So what's for the Emlich is Sheikhs in Ein Sof? Not Malchus as a Sfira Protas, the tchuna of being moishel on someone else. That's Malchus already the way it's a tzir Protas for Malchus. Though that when Oliver Tzeni's Baruch of the Ein Sof and not Emlich that the Ein should be disgalded in a Malchus of Ein Sof. What's for a Malchus of Ran and Ein Sof? Not Malchus the way we know the Gabi Nevroim, the power to lead someone else. That type of tchuna. That's what the Rebbe brings in. So Pchinas Amlucha Kameshi Baros and Dano Emlich is not in an Amlucha Kameshi here on the Vroim Befrod. Not that musig of Melucha, the way Malchus is a Sfira Protas and Atzilus, where there the gather of Melucha is that is able to be misnase, is able to lead, to have an effect on the Vroim Befrod. That's one, the nish thing in them that's done in this, what the Rebbe is explaining here, the musig of Ano Emlich. So that is in Malchus, which is also mushish in the high darga Malchus, but that's not, but the Rebbe is saying there is Malchus, the way there's a Sfira Protas and Atzilus. And the musig of Malchus, the way it's in Sfira Atzilus, the Midas Amlucha is the kayach of being Moishel b'sheilet on Nivra Nifrad. That even though the Nivra is detached of you, still you have the tchuna of leading it. Of, I don't know, controlling is not the right word, but to be how do you say, so Herschen, how do you say Herschen in there's not controlling. Herschen is to say someone that's nichna to someone else, not because the Elyon is controlling the Tachtin. Because the Tachtin realizes that he's margish. A melech is that there's someone that's a hierarchy. That's not what I'm saying, not the musik of controlling. That there's achna to someone which is beyond, which is higher than, which is moved. And that's a special kayach, the kayach of melucha, that even though someone is the nivra, zar v'nifra, the am is shalei be'erach to the melech, still their makar is nasus, and they're machniya themselves still. That's the musik of malchus, the way it is in Esses Firis, that's it. That's after Rosh and Emlech, the way it is in Ein Sof. So that means another reading. What's the Anno Emlech of Ein Sof? That's P'chinas Hamlucha Kameishi B'terem Kol Yitzur Nivra. It isn't a malchus the way it is, nothing to do with Nivra. P'chinas Reim must be Snasus Atzvus. There is this Snasus that an Am which is Zar is Margish, his Hecherkeit. It's one type of Snasus. And that type of Snasus is a certain taich in that Snasus. The Am is Margish that this person is beyond them, is higher than them, elevated than them, and therefore they have this ratzin to be machniya themselves there. Even the snasus al-am of Malchus is not a regular snasus. The whole musik of Malchus is, you say that if we're dealing with a case where the am is makir, let's say, they're margish the milas hamelech. They grasp his milah. And they made it the machniya themselves then. You say, it's a chacham katan, l'umas a chacham gadol. So the chacham katan understands the milas hasag of the chacham gadol, and therefore he's mevatel himself then. That's not Malchus. Then the reason why the tachton is batel is the tachton is not a zar v'nifra. He's margish the milas elyon. If the reason why the tachton is batel is because he's be'erech to be margish the milas elyon, then the reason why he's batel is not because the elyon is a balabas, not because the elyon is moishel, Not with the alien's memshal. It's because the Tachtin came to the recognition that it's only right for him to be bottled to the alien. Malchus says that the Am is a davar zar v'nifrat. They're on a total different caliber from the Melech. The Melech is Meshich v'mayli gavei mikol Am, and the Am has no asag and malas Melech. And Afal became, they sense his highness.
Makif, you don't get it.
The word is not. The word is that the Melech's hisnasis is Meir. Even it's mitzad the fact that it's a tchuna of the Melech that even if an Am which is far from him, still he's able to be Meishel. That's verstehen what midas Malchus is. It's a special midah. If the word is that the Tachtin from his point of view is margish the Melech, is margish malas Melech, so that's not the midas Amlucha. Midas Amlucha is a tchuna that a Melech has that even an Am which is far, his inyan is nirgash. His isnasis is nirgash. Not because they have a asag in him. It's a certain tchuna that the Melech has that his inyan has an imprint on someone else, has an imprint on an Am. There's no beer why the Am is margish malas Melech. If there's a beer, then it's not Malchus. The word is that that's a tchuna. Datka Melech has this tchuna that his avdala is Meir, and the Am become aware of it, even though mitzad their point of view, they shouldn't have been margish malas Melech. So the musik of Malchus. That's the musik of Malchus b'chlal. Versteht the meaning? I'm just being much for one akuda that you say that Malchus is dibur. Why is Malchus dibur? So the filigraphy is the musik of dibur is if someone that has the mile of dibur, the mile of speaking, is not. There's one if in a person which he has a yuchelis to have a ashpa on a crowd, let's say, on a mekabel, because he knows that they explain the inyan in a way that the mekabel should be margish the inyan. That's not the kayach hadibur. Kayach hadibur is that someone has a kayach to affect the zulas. Not. It's a kayach that an alien has that he has an ability to make an effect on the zulas. So if the fact that the zulas is being affected is the mashal Rav Talmud. The fact that Talmud understands is not because the Rav has a kayach to affect someone else. There's no kayach to affect the Talmud. The Talmud is a keli to understand the Rav. So when the Rav explains it, it's not an alien affecting the Talmud. So mainly the Talmud grasps the Indian. Malchus says that the Am is zar v'nifra. They're distant from the Melech. And out of the beginning, it's a tchuna that the Melech has that his isnasus, his hechakait, is nirgash and meir, even in a place where mitzad the nature of the place, and mitzad their kelim, they shouldn't have been margish. That's the tchuna that the Melech has. That his isnasus is nirgash and azulas. It's not the get the technaim, just that's the flow.
There's an inner relation between the Chacham Kaplan and the Chacham God.
Then he won't be margish him at all. And if the Chacham Kaplan is margish that flow, so he's epis vasashaychus to the Chacham God. You have someone which has no chush and seichel at all, and a Chacham Gadol he won't be in his battle part of the Chacham Gadol because he has b'chlam no hergish.
How does the Am ever have a right?
That's a special tchuna. That's the Melech has the tchuna to affect the zulas.
But that's only after the Am.
The pnimi is the fact that they want to be mekabel panav is mitzad the fact that he has midas amluch. That's a mission again. I'm saying that's not. I'm just saying so his nasas always is not a davar mukder really. What the Am is margish, what's mere by the Am by his nasas al Am, is not something that you could pinpoint exactly what they sense from the Malas HaMelech. But since L'Poel Mamash they're being margish some Reimemus, so you could touch up that Reimemus. That's a Snas Salam. Even a Snas Salam is not a regular fisa that the Am is margish. They could define what the margish of the Melech. So there's no Rabban exactly how but I'm saying is even a Snas Salam is not a Dover Mugder so much. But Saf Kol Saf, the Am is margish, that this person is beyond it. And the Mela, they have a Ratzin to be Machniya themselves in. So that hasnasus is a hasnasus which is having ashpa on Am. So that's already not the reimus ha'etzmik meishu b'atzmusim. That's not the melech's reimus the way it is in himself. The melech's reimus the way it is in himself. That's not nirgash in the Am. That's his own personal reimus. The reimus that they're margish, the hasnasus that they feel which causes them a rotzen to be machniya themselves in. That's only a chitzenis they get dark of hasnasus, which is his highness the way it's nirgash to be payil a bittul on the Am. So I'll tell you the Nimshal. You have the same thing. You have the Malchus is this Nasis Aram, that it's Nirgash der Eibish's Reimemus in Eilemis and Ibrahim. And the Mela that's Pele and the Ratzin in Ibrahim to be bottled in. And then there is the Reimus Etzem. That the Havdalah, that the way the Eibish's Etzem is moved from Eilemis. The way it's Merum about Musim. And that's Shalei Be'erech from being able to be Meir Evod at this Nasis Atzmus. And the Rebbe is saying here that Kavana Sabriya was, Oliver saying that this is Nasis. The Reimus Etzem does all Meir's. And the Fari Gevarn say the Rishashos. All the birds say is Baruch of the Ein Sof, that the Reim was Ein Sof, the Avdallah Sa'etzem, does all Meir's. And for that sake, Gevarn the Gansi even say the Rishashos.
Every time there's a melech and an am, that is the etzem of when the am is makabel,
it's melech v'am that we don't know b'chav. Muslim melech. The am is talking about a melech Yisrael or a true melech, and it was mistam also goyim which had the tchunas of luch.
Once the melech is makabel, then the snasus atzmus is nizgal.
Exactly how it works. That's already snasus atzmus is never nizgal because the muhus hamelech is shalei be'erach to the am. But the pile it's nirgash his royalty.
That's lower level.
It's never nirgash that able to etzem mamish in the mashal. The royalty, how much they're able to be masik is nirgash, which is chitzenius legamri. And Chassidus it says the fact that his royalty is able to be felt, even to a tachtin, which is not a keli for him. The shadish is because he's a manus of etz. That's the shadish. But that's not what's Meir. What the am's margish is a certain highness that they're able to that they're margish. That's in the mitzvahs. And this pratim, please see me that for in all pratim. We're not learning about the targets. I just want to touch up the words over here of the. There's a snasus al nevreim and there's remus with snasus al snasus atzvis. Wer versteht, ja? Da Frieden per Melcher, ja? Frieden bis Sonntag. Beginnen am Luche Kameshi Baratz und dann Emlich, ein in am Luche Kameshi an der Brand Frau. Ki im beginnen am Luche Kameshi betelem kol yitzur nibr beginnen remus with snasus atzvis. What's negel in Nenu is that the kavan, the Ratz and Emlich, the way it is in Ein Sof, is what's the musik of Melech there? The remus with snasus ha'etzem. That the etzem of Elokus is a menusa and not a snasus that you could not agdore the snasus. It's snasus atzmis. I mean that it's a whole different. He's a menusa be'etzem. Then später reis that the Rebbe teaches here, but not a snasus that you could kaviyochel be magded. This is snasus. You could say mashal chacham kadlu lumas chacham gadol. So there's you could describe the havdalah and the snasus of the chacham gadol. Al derez when you get to melech halam, so you have the am, and then you have the melech, and you somehow the am senses somehow this greatness of this key, or the havdalah of this key. So you could have this nasus has some type of a touch. The am is not margish, you know, pshitas mamish. Mash'inge this nasus etzem, the fact that the etzem is moved, that's a nasus which is beyond any distinct form. We're talking about this nasus etzem mamish. Be more aces weiter. And the purpose of the whole bria is that this reimus, this nasus etzem, the fact that the etzem's havdalah, the etzem's reimus does on this galabah. For that sake, there was this whole. The whole is called Seishlashis. Bchinas reimus zu nimshcha begile al the adam rishon sheomer avayim malach geis lavish. The reimus ha'etzem, that's what the Rebbe is saying here. The reimus ha'etzem, das is nimshach geworden through adam rishon. The reimus ha'etzem, not just the snasus salam, not just this pashtem musig of malchus. That's ongehert Welt. The Ebesh is a snasus that though he created the world and he's higher than all the limitations of the world. A snasus which the world is some tfisa of greatness that the world is able to be margish, but through Adam Rishon is nisgali geworden the snasus ha'etzem, remus ha'atzmis. By him saying avayim malach geis lavish, shaydei zeh himshach ines remus ha'atzmis begili. We versteht nicht wie sei, the Rebbe had gesagt avayim malach geis lavish. What does it mean exactly? The Adam Rishon, but that's what the Rebbe says here. We'll see in the end of the Maimon. The Adam Rishon was poiled. There should be this remus ha'etzem on this galva. Prati Yisyeis. Yeah, the chura the kavana here is, and not only Adam Rishon was poiled the union of the remus ha'etzem legabe that by Adam Rishon Gufa was Meir the remus ha'etzem, but he was poiled this gilui bekolin of Ram Shavayla in every niver in the entire world. That's the chura the kavana here. We'll just skip a line for a minute, just so you should see the. But Prati Yisyeis, so that means you do a chilik meluchim and mishala. Just the next line. But Adam Rishon himshach v'nesam lucha beratzim acholan abrayim. So the main knetch over here is. The other Rishon was piled in of Mulucha, in of Reim was by all Nivraim. Not only Benegela Atzmei, but that he had, that by Emet Merik when the Reim was and he was piled. This is a part of a Chol Eilam Chul. That's the L'chora the Beprati says. But the Rebbe brings in Yidu a Hefesh bin Mulucha L'Mshala. The Mulucha he berotzim, K'meish Emer Malchutzi berotzim Kiblu Aleim. But Adam Rishon himshach in a Mulucha berotzim Chol Nivraim. Chadisa Bezayash Adam Rishon Omar opposes Chol Nivraim. Bayu Nishtach ben Nechrad Nivra Chol Hashem Yisei. One of the Chilukim between Melucha, we have to see how this is going to relate to the Snasas Atzmas. But Shlosh Tet Nechsid is that one of the differences between a Melech, there's a special tchuna that someone has that even though, like I said before, even though he's Be'en Arech, and B'tzad, let's say, the Gdorim, the Kalim of the Mekabel, they have no Kalim to be Margish his Ma'ila, still, the Melech's Havdalah is Nirgish. That Inyan you only have by Melucha, which is Baratz. The Mshala is a different story. The Mshala, if you go read the Maimer, the Mshala, there's Melucha and Mshala. Mshala is the Mashal Emas Hagavaya ala Nomach. So that's Mimshal. That's not that they recognize his highness, his royalty, and therefore they want to say be mashabed themselves to him. Mimshal is he's stronger than me, and therefore I'm afraid of him, or he controls me. The musik of controlling is that since the alien is stronger than the makabel, so the makabel is tough, is bottled to the alien. That's nothing to do. That's not a tchuna of the alien. If in Tzias you have Shimon is stronger than Reuben, so Reuben is not afraid of Shimon because Shimon has a tchuna that he makes an imprint on the zulas. It's not him making an imprint. If he's stronger, so automatically the teva advarim is that the tachtin is going to be afraid, or he's going to be shuffled like the alien. That's not mitzvah the alien's hashpah. It's not the alien's esnas. It's not the alien's inyan that he's payal on the zulas. Mulucha is that not that the am feels that the melech is threatening them. He's stronger than them, and therefore, apiteva, they have to give themselves their bottle to him. The beratza their machniyah also. Since they realize his hafla, his reimamus, his greatness, so mitzad bertzainam, they want to dedicate themselves fully to him. How do they inherit his greatness? Which that's me'er, but the maratzin to give themselves over to him. That's l'chore if they're be'erech to be margish his ma'ila, so it's not totally their ratzin. Then if he's greater, say a chacham katan, which is margish the ma'ila of a chacham gadol. It doesn't have to want to be mishabed himself. If it's like a herike mensch, apiteva advarim, if the chacham katan is margish the ma'ila of the chacham gadol, the ma'ila will be bottled to him. It doesn't have to want. It's not a decision. He has to decide to give himself over. The yener is gresa for them, but the ma'ila is ein bottled to him. Malchus is the alien is mitzad the gdorim of the mitzias. This alien is totally detached from the tachtin, and the tachtin be'etzem has no asag in the manas. And Afal became, even though the mitzias ha'am is zar v'nifra, still his highness is nirgash in a way that they have a rutz and they want to dedicate themselves to him. That's the musig of Malchus. The Rebbe wants to bring out here that Adam Rishon Pel the Venderei must say etzem shebinim shapigim. The Pel, and not only when he gets to Adam Rishon himself, also when he gets to Alnivren. But where the Rebbe brings that is from, we see that he was Pel the musig of Malchus by Alnivren. I have to see how that relates to Rei Moshe Etzem. But the Rebbe is just bringing here that he wasn't only Pel Malchus the Gabi himself, he was Pel Malchus the Gabi Nefraim. What we find is Pel Malchus the Gabi Nefraim is the Gabi Poshta Musig of Malchus, that he was Pel Batam Aratzin for Bittul. We'll have to see how that relates to the Rei Moshe Etzem. So, Buzet and other missions get Pel Malchus by Al Nefraim, because Malchus, one of the Gdarim of Malchus is that it's Beratzin Kiblali. But Adam Rishon Himshach Pun Samlucha Beratzin Chol Nefraim. We state in Zayar that Adam Rishon Omar opposes Chol Nefraim. So he was told them that they themselves, they should want to be machniyah themselves, to be mishav themselves. Not that he revealed that be'etzem their bottle. He was me'er by them a rotzen to shuk it to be bottle to the Yeshua. That's mitzad the izgalus of midas amlucha. So Parshat Dvarim is only mechriyah that the estamasi the midas amlucha was izgalus. But here the Rebbe is saying, you see that he was pel mulucha by Nefroim. So punkt azevi chassidus is mavayar legabi the own cup, legabi Adam Rishon's kabbalah samlucha. That it's Rei Moshe Etzem, so there we was spelled in all the Ephraim, is also Rei Moshe Etzem. Let's get with them. So in the Fizeh, we understand why we could call Yem Brias Adam Tchilas Masach, a whole different type. Why? Because it's the emes of Tchila. What's the Tchsiba for the whole Seder Shalashos? What's the Tchila of the whole Seder Shalashos? Is on Zgalef and the Rei Moshe Etzem. And the Rei Moshe Etzem boli de gilui in the bria be involved in isolations. So the emes of Tchila felt is the Etzem. That's the Tchila. What initiated the whole Mitzvah ceremony? And not only Shemaim Ba'aretz, literally the whole Seder Shalashos. The Tchila Sakel is the Etzem, and the Etzem was Ersh Nizgala, was Ersh Nimshach and Vel be involved in isolations. So this day is the true beginning of isolations. Not because the Adam was created that day, but through the Adam, the Rei Moshe Etzem was Nimshach Begilui. And this Rei Moshe Etzem, that's the Tchila, the Siva Sakel for the whole Seder Shalashos. So the true Torah of Tchila, even in respect to Maisa, is Shayach when I get to Yem Brias Adam. Those types the Rebbe.
Why is it also Shayach on Maisa?
Let me send the V'lechein Yem Adam Brea Adam Daf. Utchilas Kol Masech Av Shebechofi Be'elon Nivreil. Why? Because Oz Daf Ke Nimshach Begilui B'chunas Rei Moshe Etzem, which that's the Rotzen Dan No Emlich. Shehi Sibas Kol HaBriya. What's the siva behind everything? The siva behind everything is the tchilas kol masech. So when we say, what's the beginning of masech? The beginning of masech Shemayim. That's not the true beginning. The true beginning is the Rei Moshe Etzem. That's the true beginning. Kol's man, other mission didn't come, so the Rei Moshe Etzem wasn't nirgash in world. So the true tchila of what the world is wasn't nirgash in elements. So it was a world without a beginning, so to speak. The sibas kol habriya wasn't nirgash in world. So it was the basis of what the world is wasn't here.
So the old answer was that was the tachlis of all
Yes, all answer the first answer. First answer is that without the person being there, so what's the whole purpose of having a world with a few babies? The whole purpose is a person. So Hatzishkin Mensch, so then what exactly began? The whole purpose is to have a person there. Like I was saying before, when you say, when did it be? You say now the car. Now you have the car. When you have the engine there, if you have you just started putting a few pieces of metal. Nothing started there. That was only a preparation. Here the Rebbe is saying, even though the Adam came last, but through the Adam the Reimus Ha'etzem was God, and the Reimus Ha'etzem is the true beginning of everything. Literally the beginning. Tchilas HaKel. Sibes Kalabriya. So das steht, das der Rebbe Mevayer benegea to Tchilas Masach, or benegea to benegea Adam Rishon. Oh, and we say now every year Shoshana Zok Mazayim Tchilas Masach. Jeder Jahr sagt man sein Tchilas Masach. Kamekene b'chol Shana b'Shana. B'chol Shana, wie kann man sagen jeder Jahr Zayim Tchilas Masach? The world has already exists for the last couple of 1,000 years. So them sagt because every single year b'chol Shana chayzim at varam lekat Musa. But tzarech lahamshich zabriya michodesh. So Azeh what given the Shail. So usually the beer in the Posh the beer that steht in Chassidus. The Alter brings this in the Siddur. What's the pshat? You have to every single year be ma'ir again p'chinas hamluchas. So the pshat of the Advarim is because Brias Ha'elam is ashpala l'gabe. Creating a world is a yeridah. So here in the Mashal Aderech, you tell a person he should get involved in some type of activity that's below his dignity. Let's say it's a yeridah for him. Because I'm ready to lower myself down temporarily. I'm ready to be mated myself, to degrade himself to do something. But after a Meshel Zman, he's chayshel lekadmus and he has to reconsider if he should be mashmal himself again. So there I said the whole Shabbos is ashpala the Gabi Eibush. This ashpala, the Eibush Gabi Yochel is only ready to be mitzvah himself only for a year, temporarily. After a year, he has to reconsider Nachamal whether it's worth it to have this ashpala or not. But that's not the nature. Here the nature is that every single year, not just you have to re-me'er again the Ratzin to be me'er mashmal himself to vote. Yet the year that is Galefer and Tiffer the Reimus says. Why is Roshana called Tchilas Masach? Because the Yem says Nimshach the Tchila Amiti, which is the Reimus Ha'etzem. And every year it's Tchilas Masach, because every single year that for Nachamol Mamshach Zanim felt a deeper darga of the Reimus Ha'etzem, of the Tchilas Ha'etzem. So every year is a new beginning. Because every year is Nizgala, deeper darga, deeper inyan in the Tchila and the Reimus Ha'etzem. Choshan chesed torah lekad musa. Tzarech lahamshich zabriya michodesh. This is afa piyah shelachor hamshach l'shana u'rak hamshach pratis l'shana zu. It's not a deeper hamshach of the tchila. Tchila shenim shigavar. We're only what's the chadash this year is the highest pratis for this year. For some reason, the highest pratis has to be the chadash every single year. So if the whole part you need of Rosh Hashanah is to be mamshach the highest pratis for this specific year, not a deeper hamshach of that, but just to be mechadish the highest pratis of this year. So why is every Shoshana called Tchilas Masach? Every Shoshana is a chakal nimshach, another dargen mitzat seder shalshlos, another dargen pratis which is mehr involved, not the etzim. So Adam sagt the Rebbe is nicht das. So even though Rosh Hashanah is only hamshach pratis Shoshana zu. Aber bei emes im Vur begar shekedesh al pasuk eretz hasheina Hashem alkecha v'bris Shoshana v'adach Shoshana. Paul the Gazak, the Rebbe teaches there. Where's the Alter Rebbe said in the Gar Sakedesh? Alter Rebbe says that they say the Eretz Yisrael Darten. So the Eibishter is Eini Hashem Alikecha is focused there from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So Alter Rebbe says only one year from the beginning of the year to the end, and that's it. So Alter Rebbe says here that every year there's this Chachas Achayis. So Alter Rebbe's lashon is Shebechor Shoshana Nimshach Er Chodesh. So Parshas Er Chodesh is not an Er Chodesh from Atzmas. Er Chodesh is you have to do the Shis Alpha Shnei Habal. So each the Eibishter is every 6 spheres, Chesed, Gvura, Teferes, and each sphere Chesed Atzilis, when it's a Slavish Welt, it's 1,000 years in order to durchgehen the whole the Tfilas Chesed should be Nizgala and should be say materialized in the Olam Hazeh. So Yemesh Lakadish Baruch Hu Elaf Shana. In order for that sphere Chesed Atzilis to be in a Slavish Welt, a Ma'aseh from 1,000 years. So what do we mechadesh every year? Another Hamshach pratis. Last year, this Pchina was Nizgala, and Nimshach and Vel. And the next year, the next Pchina is Nimshach and Vel. The Alter Rebbe says Er Chodesh. Er Chodesh doesn't. The Alter Rebbe is not speaking about the Er Chodesh Atzmas. The Alter Rebbe Er Chodesh Achayis pratis. So Adam Alter Rebbe does. Since the Alter Rebbe used the lashon Er Chodesh, Hu Shebechor Shoshana Hu Chidesh Amiti Ba'atzmi. Chidesh Amiti M'chinas Reimus Atzmas. If it's a Hamshach Chayis, let's say the way it sounded the Pashtus. that Chesed Atzilus, in order for it to be Nimshach B'Shleimus, needs 1,000 years. So this specific year being Mamshech, another Tesefes Pchina and Sfiras HaChesed. So the Darga which is Nimshach this year has some erech to the Darga of that. If it's a Darga of Seder Shalshalos, so all the Dargas have some Hashva Zelazim. It's not Be'en Erech Klal. If it's not Be'en Erech Klal, it's not an Emes HaChidush. Chidush Amiti means that the Indian that's Nimshach this year, there was no Nesinas Magafet. There was nothing Be'erech that was Meir the year before. So that, from them, that the air which is Nimshach Rishon is Eir Chodosh. Eir Chodosh means that it's new. That there is a Lashon that is Eir Chodosh. It means that it's Chodosh in the ultimate, most the Shleimus like a taich of what Chodosh is. Chodosh means that it's a new Indian which is beyond the whole Gdarim of Seder Shalshas. That's only if you say that every Shana is Nimshach, a deeper Amshach from the B'chin of Reimus HaEtzim. Reimus HaEtzim, you can't say that the Reimus HaEtzim is Shalei Be'erech Klal to the Mitzvah of Seder Shalshas. So that element, or whatever way you're going to teach it, the Hamshachas HaEtzim that wasn't married yet, the year before, you can't say that the Shtalshas the way it was the year before was Be'erech to this Hamshach HaDash of the Reimus HaEtzim. Shalei Be'erech Klal. Talking about the Etzim which is Mubtal, Be'etzim a whole different target. So for that to be married about, it's a Chidush Amiti Ba'atzim. So it says. Chidush Amiti M'chines Reimus HaAtzim Daf. Any inim which is already Hamshach, which is already outside of the Etzim, which is already Seder Shalshas, there's no Chidush Amiti. Because it has some erech to the dargis. So the Meir, Zeo ma sheshana tchilas masach. Kisha nimshach m'chines reimus ha'atzmis. K'mesha pa'am harishena de sheshana. Shenimshach m'chines reimus ha'atzmis v'gila ad adam rishon. So the Nekudas Advarim is, that the Rebbe's Masber here, the Nekudas of Shoshana is not azei fran as abir l'chsidis. That the Shoshana, the focus is to be mamshich, the Eibusha Shabaratzin, to be mahavevel. Should be a melech. Should be mashful himself to run the world. In order to get him to, since he's not sure if he's going to continue this yirida, so we have to be me'ered him to continue this yirida. So what are we being mamshich or being mamshich? The lower direct. In order to get him to lower himself down, we have to be me'ered him a little bit, but not that we're eising that the etzem should be nimshach, that the etzem should be me'ered. The Kodesh Shoshana has been in a malchus that the darga of Sfiras HaMalchus are me'ered. In order to get Sfiras HaMalchus, we have to be me'ered by the etzem. Here the Rebbe is saying that the Kodesh Shoshana is Tchilas Masecha is that this is the day that the etzem is nimshach begin. So what's the Avodah of Shoshana? The etzem zon meir zayin. That the reimus ha'atzim zon meir zayin. It's not that we want to be mamshach melucha. The only way to reach melucha is by atzim, because everything else is established. But the purpose of Rosh Hashanah is that's Shoshana, but it's the first Rosh Hashanah. The nekuda of the ufta of Adam Rishon was that he was pearl that the reimus ha'atzim zon meir zayin begin. And al there's every Shoshana, the nekuda of Shoshana is that the reimus ha'atzim zon nimshach be'er begin in belt. And then b'shtei David of Shoshana. Mamshech is saying that it's on the skalaver and the etzem of Holocaust, which is the tchilas hakar, the sibas kalabri. So we have to see what's the Avodah of Shoshana, what's Chodesh Sultan with the Musig of Malchus. Let's get it in the embarrassing.
How's it Erev Chodesh? Every single year is the same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's a deep. It's not what's the pshat dargis and etzem, but we're not dealing with. It should be more in a deeper eifin than the Reimus etzem, in a higher eifin than the etzem.
Each level of etzem being array.
Each level of etzem is being array because if you was at Meir given the year before, the gabi you have a deeper akar in that flow of etzem, the Reimus etzem. Mitzem di proto. Mitzem.
Wasn't Chadash every year? Wouldn't be Chos Masach every year?
No. Why should then? How do you say every year it's Chos Masach?
Because it was Friday. That was stopped, so it went away.
Well, what went away? The etzem didn't go away. I'm saying if the only thing what we're renewing every year is a certain Amshacha Pratis. That's the other nation was Pela Reimus etzem.
Again, Reimus etzem.
The same thing again.
Yeah. So when.
What do you mean? I don't know. What does it mean? The same thing again? He was nostalgic, and we bring him back. What's the? It's also not a real chila. The Indian was already here last year. It was already nimshach in belt. Where's the chiddush here? The Indian shing event. The nekuda is that every year is a new beginning. It means the reimus ha'etzem is nimshach in a way that it was never made in belt earlier. I'm not saying the word. I'm saying more the word of the chiddush. I don't mean the word of tchila.
If it wasn't chiddush, it couldn't be tchila.
I say you're saying something else. You're saying inside the word of tchila, you could have even. I don't know what it means exactly. The Mamshel Etzem again was nostalgic. I'm not sure what it would mean over there. It was nimshach and then it was nostalgic. It's chvesish point. Let me understand what the Rebbe is mevayer. Chvesish exactly the Gdarim. What would it mean this year that way? The etzem is not a psadargi, so you have it, you don't have it. It's the akar of the etzem, the way it is moved al b'chlal from Metzius. And there's ain't stuff in how much that inyan could be made. I'm not sure if this idea of the same is shaykh over there. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if the same is shaykh. You say someone says a svari. I heard the same svari yesterday. I'm hearing it again. I'm talking about the haflas ha'etzem being meir. I'm not sure what does it mean the same. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the agdara would mean over there. Okay. Lamerzen with the state. Lamerzen. Can you weiter, yeah? Hoven ze bei mikyeis. At the end of the moment, the Rebbe is going to go back to what's the pshat Rishon is the Aved of Hamshach Etzem, and then what does it have to do with the of Malchus Stam? We'll see the prat. This part is basically also again just being marketed more than the Kodesh Advarim before the Rebbe goes into the Prat Abiurim. So David the Melech Omer b'Shem Kol Yisrael Arimimcha Lekayim Melech. Now, so there's being Mishabeach, the Eibishter is Reimus, Arimimcha. I'm going to say, how do you say it, proclaim the Eibishter is Reimus. Now, Arimimcha, Pchinas Reimus, Atzmis. The Reimus Etzem. Mashalamayla be'ein Arech, Pchinas Reimus, Visnasis Alan Ufrem. That's it on the Rebbe Fernando Klein. Reimus Atzmis, first of all, Mashalamayla Meishtashalis. Leirek Mesfiras Hamalchus, I mean, but even Kloli, the Mocker, I mean, in different diagrams. We're speaking about the get in Nevroim, so the Sherish Makar of Nevroim is Firas Amalchus. They say the Mashal when they get to Nefesh Adam. Where does it begin? The Musik of a Makar to Azulas for Nefesh Adam in the Kei Hadibur. Cholzman before Kei Machshav and Seichel Amidus, that's all the person's own personal Metzias, his own Nefesh. The way he understands, the way he feels. Where does it begin? A Makar already a Tnua that you're sharing with someone else, that begins in Kei Hadibur. That's already the Ashpa Lachutz. So there's no Lakus. Chabad and Chagas is all the Inyanim, Keichas of the Eibishter, the Inyanim of a Lakus, the way it's Kaviyochel within a Lakus himself. His tzir. It's the Chachma, the Eibishter's Chachma, the Eibishter's Spheris. That's the way Lakus is beyond being Meir to Nivra, which is a Metzias outside of it. Vu Heitzachon, a Lakus being Meir to Zulas, that's the Spheris Amalchus. Al Derech and the Mashal, where does it begin? The person communicating what's going on by him to Zulas, that begins with Keich HaDibur. Machshava and Seich Lamidus, that's all the person's own personal world. That's the ways beyond being able to be Nergash Azulas. So the Pashtus, Hishtashlos begins in Sfiras HaMalchus. So does Zakman that we speak Remus. So there is the Remus Ha'elyin. First darga is the Remus Ha'elyin, the way it's Nergash Azulas. That's the regular Sfiras HaMalchus. That's the Snasus Alan Vrun. That's the Eibish's Highness, the way, I don't know which other word to use, but his Snasus, the way it's Nergash by Nevraim. Vu Heitzachon, that an Elyon, that Reuven is Nergash by Shimon, that's Mitzad, that's only that aspect of Reuven which Azulas is able to feel. That starts by Keich HaDibur. That's the Mokam Achichi Tzeni, where it's already a Mokam for Zulas. There's no Lakus. Sfiras HaMalchus is that Sfira, which is Mamshech, that the Inyan of Lakus is able to be Meir by a Nivra. So it's not just Atzmis is the Remus Ha'etzim. So it's not the Remus the way it's Nirgash. The way the Remus, the way Lakus is already a Mokam for Zulas. That's not the Remus Ha'etzim. That's the Inyan of Lakus, the way it has an impact, the way it's felt to another, to Azulas. Remus Ha'etzim is Visehecha from the Shalosh. So it's not only higher than Sfiras HaMalchus. Sfiras HaMalchus is a Mokam from the Dura. Das versteht not the Remus Ha'etzim is higher than Malchus. But it's higher even than Sfiras HaChacham. She'eresh is Kol Ha'ishtalshus. Why? Because Sfiras HaChacham, even though Sfiras HaChacham is the way Lakus is Ba'atzmai, but it's the way Lakus is already a Shaykhas to Azulas also. They say the Mashal when they get to Nefesh Adam also the same thing. Even though Chachma is Shalei, they say the Chabad Shebenevish is Shalei Be'erech to the Metzias of Azulas. Only in Dibur, that's where there's the beginning of Ashpa to Azulas. But L'Poyel, what does a person communicate through his Dibur? His Seichel Amidus. Even though the Seichel, the way it is by him, is higher than being able to be Nergash by Azulas, but it's not Shalei Be'erech Klal. Saf kol saf, the Seichel, the Chachma, the way it is by him, is a mocker that through Dibur it's going to be Nimshach ha'ara of this Chachma to Azulas. So you can't say the Chachma is Mereimam v'nivda legamri. It's the Remus, is the way the Eibush is Batzmusa. Because even Chachma is Saf kol saf through this Lapshas and Dibur. This Chachma, this Seichel that he was masterful able to deliver it to Azulas. So Chachma has, even Chachma the way it is Ba'atzmai, has some Shaykhs, is already a mocker, not some Shaykhs. It's already a mocker for the Metzias Azulas. So it's not movable be'er, it's not Menusa legam. It's not a Sasis Atzis. He has some Shaykhs to the Azulas. That's in Chachma. This is later, which is also a whole different level of Shaykhas Lezulas. Malchus is Kipshuti, the beginning of the Shaykhas Lezulas. It's in the Mashal Nevesh Adam. Malchus is Dibur, where the person is already in a state of connection to Lezulas. Chachma is not, he's not in a state, he's the way it is in himself. But Saf Kol Saf, once, Mitzatzir Chachma, you already have a marker of Ashpah Lezulas. Because through Seder Shalshalas, a ha'ar of this Chachma will be Nimshach Lezulas. That's for male, it's considered a marker. The gam is filis a chachma shelish kol ishtash. The gam la mailim knas a chachma shebekesser, because gam chachma shebekesser yichal ishtash. In other words, once we're using the musik of marker that saf kol saf this inyan through ishtash l'sarabis is going to be nimshach. So however, the chachma shebekesser shalei be'erech the chachma the way it is in Sfiras HaChachma. I mean, it's dargis without nishvas achveis what the dargis zayin, but you have the biyurim that you have chachma the way it's negesh in a person's maya. Person is in the neshama b'guf, and you have his keach hachachma, it's nirgash in his brain, and you have the chachma the way it is in the nefesh, keach hamas, the way the chachma is nichal within the nefesh itself. That's what's the dagar shalei be'erech klal. But after became saf kol saf, the chachma the way it's nimshach in the mayach is ha'ara. It's nimshach through ishtal. It's nimshach from the chachma the way it is in the nefesh. So once we're dealing with the Rab, one thing, the dibur hipzachana shaychas mamash tazubas. But then you have a mocker to the. You don't have the connection to the zulas, but you have something which is self a market to the zulas. So it's not munus tabetz, it's not moved to legami. There's some shaykhs. Once you're going into that element of a market, that saf goes saf through a shtasus with the inner and zulas. So you have chachma the way it is in keser. So even chachma the way it is in keser, even though the darga, the way this phase that it's in when it's in keser is shalei be'erech the shtasus, but saf goes saf through a shtasus rabbis with the simshach. Yeah, there's different dargas. Lamer Zendel. Gam chachma shebekesser b'chal leishtash. Kedum shchaz b'ramaz. The chachma stimoi chitzeni is chachma stimoi. Yitchilas v'reishes leishtash. So that's already the inyan chachma the way it is in the highest state. The inyan chachma the way it is in the highest state has the shaykhas leishtash. Because chachma is the inyan prati, and through ishtash rabbis will be nimshach in a shaykhas to the zulas. Efshel will sagen how the word. Just the Rebbe says in Tishri that when we speak about, it's also not, but the Rebbe says there that. When the third speaks about on one hand, what do we say in Paschalio? Antu chakim v'lo b'chachma yidin. So the Eibishter's chachma is shalei be'erech to the musik of chachma the way it is by Nevrayim. So the Rebbe says, why are you calling it chachma? If shalei b'chachma yidiyah, it's shalei be'erech klal to the musik of chachma the way Nevrayim know. So why are you calling it chachma? So the Rebbe says, because it's a market of chinas chachma. So that means the mashal, you have the mashal l'chveis the Gemara. It says in Medrash that ein lecha esav l'mata she'eli mazel milmayla hamaka be'emer le'gdal. So you have the Asif, the simple piece of grass, and you have the Mazal Ruchni, which that's where the Asif through a Shtashlos Rabbis gets its Inikas HaChayisra. So Al-Tirah says Shalei Be'er HaKlal, the Mazal Ruchni to the grass to the Asif Lamata. How could you compare that means the Dugma, you have Pashat the Mesikas Gashmis, the Mesikas of a fruit dirtin, Echel Yitam, and the Mesikas of a Svar. Shalei Be'er HaKlal. The mesikas of a svara to push it the physical taste. And someone that has a good taste buds there, then it's not going to make him closer to understanding and to appreciating the mesikas of a svara. No one's going to say, in order for you to appreciate the mesikas of a svara, first you have to appreciate sweet foods. And that's going to be a chana, and you'll be able to appreciate the mesikas of a svara. So again, it's elements nefradim legami. But saf kol saf, the mesikas haruchnis is the marker for this mesikas gashmis. Means that the tnu of mesikus you have the way it is in higher elements, and through ishtashlos rabbis, this tnu is misgashim until it materializes itself in a mesikus gashim sabayich gashim. So that's a musik. You have something which it's very narech to the lower dark. But saf kol saf, this tnu itself, the elyon is an inyan prati, and through ishtashlos rabbis, this inyan prati will be nimshach and eslabish to a low level. So even you say chachma shebekesser, there's a chachma that is shalei be'erech to the sagas of a nidin. But it's saf kol saf, the tnu of chachma. The tnu of chachma through ishtashlos rabbis is nimshach and seichel anushi, together with shalei be'erech klal. But that tnu is already a makir for saf kol saf through ishtashlos rabbis and through parsois, whatever the system over there is, that is nimshach lamata. So the Rebbe is saying here, you can't call chachma datzilis that it's menusa, that it's moved to legam. Epis hashayich masat, it's a makir. That's the answer. Then there was made more. So amaret in chachma shebekesser, you're talking about the inyan of a certain tziyur. Talking about Chachma. Chachma the way it is in the highest state. So Saf Kol Saf, there's a Ashva between the Chachma, the Tzir Lamata, to the Tzir the way it is in Chachma Shebekesser. But then you have chitzeni sekeser. Chitzeni sekeser, there's no, where's the lashon here? The gam chitzeni sekeser. B'chalusim makar b'shayach l'shlashos. Chitzeni sekeser is already a whole different tnuah. Say in the mashal b'nefesh ha'adam, you have the mashal keches pninim, that's seichel and midis, that's nyan prati. The person has the ability to understand, the ability to feel. Av, yira. Then there is ratzin. Ratzin is not a certain keach prati that the nefesh has. Ratzin is that, you say, the general person, the general eye of the person is drawn towards something. So ratzin is not a tzir prati. It's not a keach prati. It's not, you say, keach hariyah or keach havana. Ratzin is not a keach prati. It's the whole eye of the person is drawn towards something. So it's an entirely different tnuah than keches prati. Chachmen, when you speak about Chabad and Chagash, I'm talking about already in Yonim Pratim, certain milas that the nefesh contains. And that is in Yonim Pratim, which through Shtashlos Rabbis will be Nimshach Ta'azulas. Someone else can appreciate this person's milas. Ratzin is the eye the way it is in itself. This eye is Nimshach. The Pshittas and Nefesh, the Kameshahu, I want something. So it's the Nefesh, the Etzem Nefesh Kameshahu being drawn to something. That's an Inyan which has no erech. It's not even a makir. This tnuah can't be nimshach ta'azulas. Means you can't impart with someone else your ratzin. Your meshicha is your meshicha. Someone else could also want something else. You could tell him what you want. Your ratzin could even through say the dibur, he could know that you want, but your ratzin can't be nimshach to someone else. Svara that you're mechadish or a feeling that you have, someone else could be margish that feeling. You're able to shir it, the legacy that the person has. A person's ratzin cannot be given over to someone else because it's his. Being drawn to something. It's his will. You can't give over your nefesh. You can't give over your nefesh's meshikah. You could give over a certain mile of pratis that your nefesh contains. But thy nefesh alin kemenish tibrigah. So a person's ratzin he can't give over. So the chur ratzin is keser is already a dark which is menusa legamri. So it has no shaychas klal to say the shashmas. That's what the Rabbi does. Even chitzeni sekes, even though it's a whole, it's makif, it's in of pshittis, not even of tziyur, but still it's makir b'shayach l'shlashos. So it means the poil, the mashal that you see in the mashal, the tnu of ratzin. Ratzin could be, even though ratzin, the seichel can never, keches can never grasp the ratzin, they can never tackle it. It's the nefesh kameishahu being in it, but they're able to sense that there's a nefesh that wants. There's certain hashpayis of the ratzin that can be nirgash. So it's not shalei beraklal. Means it's a tnuah acheres and sheilah shlashim. Keser is already the pshittas of alakus, but it's the pshittas which the way it could be meir, it could be nirgash that there is pshittas of alakus, could be meir and shlashim. So it has some makir that's shayach to shlashim. Shalchein chizein keser nim lefamim binin asfiris. Amaret arimimcha the emissary remus of the Eibishter, the fact that the Eibishter is beyond, so it's beyond any shaychus of alakus. Remus atzvis b'chinas primius akeser, which is b'chinas atik meloshen ataka shenetak v'nivdal mekol inin shlashim. There's no concept involved that has any relation to the Remus Atzis. We have no Asaga Klal. In Bas Bashtei, the Avdalas Atzis. Not the word Pshittas either. It's Mirem and Venivdal from the whole, any concept and any category of Seder Shlashos. Netak Venivdal called in an Shlashos. Chin Pchinas Atik, Lo Elam Eni Nimne V'min Asfiris. So this Pchina does a Remus Atzis. That's Arimimcha, the true Remus of the Eibishter. Meretach Arimimcha, he's being Mirem, he's being speaking about the Eibishter's Remus. So the Shai, the Eivish is Remus Atzmis, which has no hashva klal to Elam. So al pizeni move on. Pirish adem mimcha ich shaykh l'reim mimchin azul l'mal yes. I'm talking about primis akes. The way the etzim is batz musay. What's the shaykh is mereim zay? Yeah, it's an interesting type of question. You do a bez shepirish adem mimcha hu amshach ha'maylamat. What's the pshat adem mimcha? Not adem mimcha is going to elevate the Eivish's Remus. Arimimcha is he'll be mamshich b'mayla lamata. Ashkenas Remus atzmis yor begili lamata. That's the pshat Arimimcha b'chop pshuta, which chop pshuta they say it's an aricha. The kav of the chop is by arichas lamata goes lamata benashura. So that's meira lamshacha ad lamata mata. I don't know this word in Beis. There are shtetish I think. Now in Beis it said Arimimcha that the kavana is mamshich b'mayla lamata shvi begili. The Remus in Sadat means behelen. And the Remimcha is Shemamshichet Begili. So that's why the Remimcha is Lashon Neichach. Chop is Lashon Neichach that we're able to, that the Gili is, that the Remus is Meir. But this word that it's Chop Pshuta, and Chop Pshuta, the fact that it's Lamata and Ashura, so it's Meir and Amshacha Lamata Mata, I don't think that tight stayed there. See, the Kemat Bar doesn't say that, maybe somewhere else, but over there, there's stayed. So the word is Chop Pshuta, Meir Amshacha Ad Lamata Mata. What's the pshat? Sharemus ha'atzim is mitzad atzmoi be'elavest. Means mitzad the nature of the remus ha'atzim leichter, and he's not shaykhs to Metzias. He's Batzmusa. That's the whole inner remus. So Mashim Reim v'nivdal, Shem Meilu be'el. What's the ufta v'rei mimcha? Shebchinas haremus yar begili. But the knetch is, sounds like that Goshia, not standard Shemeir begili. Hana shachilish v'rei mimchu legabe eilumus. That Shebhem yeh in inner remus begili. That the remus will sein in Welt. And then besteht the ufta. Not stand, you say something, the way it's 9 bases. I'm not sure if this is, but that's just when you, that's what it seems like. We have one eifin is that Goshia is, Tmuras at the remus is behelen, it should be open. It should be visible. So sein begili. Or that Goshia is, he should not just give your Helen. Where is the place of the remus? Where is he invested? The remus in Sadatzma is in the Tnu of Afshat. He's beyond remus. The Kodev Arabim is that this remus should be, it should be involved. Not stand that the world should be aware of it. The remus should be nimshach lamata, it should be involved. That's the mashmos. Shebehem yeh in a remus begili. It's not just they should be aware of the remus. The inner remus al meir is al nimshach ver involved. We'll see behemshach. That's the answer. So one pirush of Mimcha is that the remus al stein involved. Not that the remus is bab shata from Metzias, but in Metzias, in the Metzias of Seder Shad, where there should be its remus. Noch a pirush in Mimcha, it's hello mamatalomai. So Mimcha lekayim. I mean, this you could have an eifin that the remus etzim is meir involved, not because the Metzias ha'elam is a keli or expresses from its point of view expresses the remus etzim. Since the remus etzim is not mugbal, let's say, so he's able to be present everywhere. He's able to be meir everywhere. The nekudah below matalamayla is not only that the remus etzim should be invested in Welt, but that mizal uftan that to be made the Metzias ha'elam. The Metzias ha'elam should be a keli. From its point of view, it should express the remus etzim. Not only that the remus etzim should be meir here, but that the world Zazan and Azam served eifim, that it reflects the remus etzim. That's a low matalamayla. The second page. That's according to this pshat that Goshi is I'm going to elevate Elakaya Melech to the Darga Remus. One pshat is that the Yur Remus I'm going to bring down the Matamat. A zweite pshat is I'm going to elevate Elakaya Melech that they should be a cave, they should reflect Yur Remus. Which that's what's the pshat in Tevas Elikai, which is the Kaman Barichas. Their Indians are Yisreimam v'Yis'alim b'Chinas Remus Atzis. So another zak. Meletach Remus Etzem. Remus Etzem is a darga which has no shaykhs to shashos. I mean to say so. I mean to say the Gvul of the Atzmis is Remus, and not only this Remus. The Kavan is that those Almeirs and Invel and the mocking Kaviyot, so to speak, should be Invel, but that the Metzias Ha'elam should be a Keli, and from their point of view, the Metzias Ha'elam should reflect this Remus Atzmis. And based in Yonim, Elu Nasa the other Marish. That's the Nekudah B'Sheshan. The Beidei Yonim. Side that the Etzim should be Nimshach B'Gili, and side that the Metzias Ha'elam should be Nes'ale and be a Keli to the Etzim. So, Chilas Abriya means Mitzad Elam is the way they're Nivra Mitzad Atzim, the Remus is Behel. Even though this happens, is B'Dvar that means the inner of his havos was an eifin of hell. Even though the Sheirish Hamiti for the Metzias Ha'elam is the Remus Atzmis, but the eifin of his havos was that there was a hell between the Beir and the Nivra. So not only the Remus was behel, the his havos was in a way that the Mehave, the Makir, was removed from this havos. It's how the nature of his havos the way it is originally. So the Metzias Ha'elam, the way it is in Sadatzmi, is an eifin that the Elyon is behelim from Bel. So it's not only that the Atzmis is Remus is not Meir Begin. There's a hell of a hester Abeir and and Adam Arishin, Zain Inin is, Himshachin, we'll see later, the whole Nekudah the Maimer is that Vu Hatman the Remus Eretz and Dafke the fact that the Sabbath was in the way of hell. But the Sabbath in Sadatzma, the Helam doesn't express the pnimis of what the Helam is, that is the Remus Eretz. Because the other Arishin that was beginning. See, the fact that the Dvar Avaya is the Helam, that the Pashat the Mokir Abri is Behelim, that has to do with the fact that the premise of the Ishabos has to do with the Remus Eretz. Yeah, we'll see that. So Adam Arishin Himshach in Israel was Atzmis Begili Milmai Lamata, number one, and Helas Kol Abriya Milmata Lamai. Vieter Uvgetan Adish Omar Bayin Ishtach V'Nechra Nivrachov Neshem Yisenu L'Bchin Remus Atzmis. So according to this pshat, Pilgrim by Zay not Stam Nishtach V'Nechra Stam as a Bittul Tamavos. Nishtach V'Nechra a bit of that. So here, that's exactly the first. You see, the first beginning of the Rebbe is a different quality. The kavanah of his havas is galus remus etzem, and other mission was pale that begilui through Rosh Hashanah. And then the prati is there's two in Yon. There is first of all more beer prati is from the gabas retzach the remus etzem. So we're dealing with the pchin of pnimius hakeser, the din of atik, which is shleiber not stam chachme or higher dargis which are bein the but we're dealing with the remus etzem, the pnimius hakeser, and there's two efanim bimi this mamshach and belt. One efin that mamshach the elyon begilui. Another eifin is a reminder that tachtin to that he should reflect who should be a keli to the Rebbe says. Can you invite it? So the Elam wants to take a nap. Okay, we begin with later. We'll go weiter, yeah. Beer the Indian here betevis alakai yeshnei pirush. The Elam stammer you learned a little further, yeah. Well, let me get weiter. There's two pirushim. What's the pshat alakai? Alakai meloshin kayach, alakai meloshin alikus. Shlochorde in beis in yonim afachi. That's it. In shchonar of pashat, alakai is meloshin kayach. No, that like, you know, alakim is elia aretz lokach that where you mechavim, shlosim mechavim b'shem alakim. So the Eibush is the bala kayach v'yechelis. Pashat shchonar alakai is meloshin kayach. So shlochorde are two opposite in yonim. Kayach hu inyan helen. Velakai meloshin alakus hu inyan ervigili. So the Rebbe first starts off when they get to the inyan of ervigili, drachin and tzuget zukeh. So we have like this. We have there is one way of a mucker being payah in a form of kayach, which that the mucker is the mucker is working in a way of hell, in a hidden way. That's one way of functioning. We're dealing with a mucker affecting or having an effect on a mitzvah. So one way of affecting is that the makir is pale in a ifin of helen, which is called payah. We'll see the pratim later. And another way the makir is pale in a way of air, which that is that the makir reveals himself through this hashpah, through this pool. Payah is that he is fakir. The purpose of the hashpah is hiding himself, being mild himself, and that's the way he functions through payah, which we'll see later the pratim. Air is that the way he functions, the way he's mashpeh is by being megal himself, a tnu of gilui. And there's a two opposite inyanim. Is the matar over here ashpa and ifin of gilui, and the inyan of this ashpa is for the sake of the etzem of the makir revealing himself, or it's ashpa and ifin fakir of the makir being mailim himself and blocking himself away from the titzah. It's two opposite inyanim. What's your focus? It's not just kayach is not just a degraded. It's a mitzumtzum version of it. You say in the Mashal Levit, you have Chabad, Chagas. You have so in Moichin is more Meir than Mosada. In Midas more mitzumtzum. It's not two opposite functions. The matar of Meichin and Midas is all this galus of the Milas Nefesh Adam, let's say. But you have degrees. Vifel is Meir, the Milas of Nefesh Adam. In Meichin is Meir, in Midas Veniker. Er and Keach are two opposite functions. The Nekud of Er is this galus hamakir, and the Nekud of Keach is not a degraded version of this galus hamakir. Fakir, the Eifin of Ashpa or Eifin of being piled in a way of his almas. The focus is that the makir is blocking himself from the Titzah. And it's two opposite inyan. So, and the beid inyan are both nichla in one word. So, because Sholchen Elam Atzilis, why is it called Elam Elikus? Is because it's an Elam with dirt and Herzach Elikus Begili. It's not a Sisif Neatzman. And Dos Dokman Elikai Amel, Tevis Elikai, Sevel Beza Pirush. Why? Because what's Negel in Yenenu is that Elikus is Kela both of these inyanim. Why? Because Yesh Maila B'Kol Echad. Yet the Einer from this Efani Hashpa has a Maila. Yesh Maila L'Gabikeh. Yesh Maila B'Keh L'Gabikeh. No, we're dealing with a Maila in the sense of expressing the makir. So there's a Maila in the makir the way it's expressed through air, and there's a Maila in the makir the way it's expressed through the function of Keh. So it wasn't there a Maila. And the Badas by Meibesh is Keh Al Maila. So L'Chein Nemra Losh Nelekai Shesevel Beza Pirush. We'll see the plot. But before the Rebbe starts being Mavir, the Musik of Kayach, first the Rebbe is makdim another inyan. That here we're dealing with Eir and Kayach, which we'll see later in the Hemshech HaMaimer. The Rebbe is makdim before the Rebbe starts being Mavir Eir and Kayach, means the Matara what we're coming to explain is the Maila of Kayach over Eir. The Maila of Eir over Kayach and the Maila of Kayach over Eir. Before we're going to be Mavir, the Maila of Kayach over Eir, the Rebbe is first makdim that there's a Musik of Eir v'Shem. And once we understand the Maila of Shem, that's going to be the Hakdamah to understand the Ma'al of Kayach. That's basically the Mahalach Hadbar. So, Inin Hodin Yesh Hepesh Ben Er L'Shem. Shenach Inin. I mean, Er L'Shem is not, and it's V'chein Ben Er L'Kayach. Means there's two in Yon. We have Er and Kayach. which Keach, with the Rebbe explains later, especially they say a person functions, let's say Keach Hazrik, a person is being pale something outside of him. We'll see the pratim later, that's Keach. A name is not a musik of Ashpa, or it's not the same musik of Keach, it's different. Like I'm into the mashal. There's a Keach that a person has, and then there is the name that a person has. We're going to see later that the music of Keach has a shaykhs to Shem. And in order to understand the mile of Keach, I'm fear maktim zayn the mile of Shem. Omer on even a bissel the Machos in yin Shem. K'maimer melech shmei nikra. The zeh ma shemispashet me'melech al asarim va'avodim v'al kol hamdinu u'rak ma shemei nikra ali. Yeah, we're dealing all sof kol sof. The meludach mevar zayn the mile of Sfiras HaMalchus. The dafket through Sfiras HaMalchus couldn't zu tzarei museds. That's going to be the function here. The ultimate matari is this Galas of Reimus Etz, and that's this Galas through Malchus. We'll see later. So Malchus is Shem. What's that to turn Malchus to Shem? So the Lepoil, what does the Medina have from the Melech? What's their shaykhs to the Melech? The shaykhs, it's not that you have the Rabbi Talmud, so the shaykhs is that the Talmud relates to the Svaras of the Rabbi. Or the Chaysan Oyev and Ohov, so the Ohov is, you say, Rikshi attached to the Oyev. What does the Anshe Medina have with the Melech? They have no erech to his Seichel, they have no erech to his Midas. What does the Am have from the Melech? What's the Shaykhs to the Melech? That that Shmai Nikrali, they belong to him. That his name is called on them. The Medina is called his Medina. And then the Shaykhs. That Shmai Nikrali, that they're his nation. Not that they have a kiruf to his Havana Vasaga, not that they have a Hergish in his Midas. They belong to him. And that's Shmai is Nikra Aliyah. This Medina's, this Melech's Medina's, this Melech's Malchus. Shmai Nikra Aliyah. We'll see the prat. Yesh Hefesh min L'Shem. First of all, this is Gili. Who bedvekas nikeres, v'shem or helen who bedvekas built in nikeres. Let's get to Yipton the Rebbe read. Shem in Yoni is, so it's a relation to the Makar. Name is a way of relating to the Makar. And was bashteit the shaykhs of Anshe Medina to this Melech, that they're Shmai Nikra. They're his kingdom, whatever the pshat is. His name is called on them. So what do they have from him? Shmai doesn't mean that they have that there's some of the Tchunas HaMelech that's Meir over there. When we say that shame is that there's a shaykhis, but not a shaykhis gluya. Not that you're able to be mafchin. The tchunis of the mekabel is similar or contains within it the tchunis of the alien. Only his name, which his name doesn't contain anything. There's no gili of the mile of the alien in his name. That's going to be later. It's still a shaykhis. We're talking about it's his name, but it's not a shaykhis gluya. And the name doesn't through the name he doesn't express anything of the mile of the makkah. It's still the makkah's name. But it's the Makkar's name, but there's no shaykh's gluya between the name of the Makkar. So I'll when you get to the Anshe Medina that Shmei Nikra Aleim, the Poyal, their Messiachas Achro, they have his name, but there's nothing of his milas are Meir by them. It's only his name, which in the name doesn't contain any of the milas of the Makkar Hanikra Bashem. It doesn't send Shpeter Negate the Shem. But now is Negate the Musik Aver. What's Eir is Gili Amar. That's the Kodaver. It's not Eir is Gili. It means that the whole function of Eir is that that through the area you're able to see the market. His whole Indian is Dvekas. Dvekas says that he has no independent function. His whole Indian is to meshakif the market. Dvekas Nikeres. Not that he doesn't have his own he doesn't have his own tzir, he doesn't have his own Indian. The whole Indian of the air is that the market should be in his gala. You see, the Eir HaShemesh. So the whole Nakud of Eir HaShemesh is that the Shemesh, the sun should be open, the sun should be known, the sun should be in this guy. Not there's no mitzvah, not a musik of ashpa which comes from the Shemesh. The whole techen of the ashpa is this galus of the market, that the market should be open, the market should be known. That's Vekas Nikeres. Vekas Nikeres says that the whole mitzvah of air is Gili HaMarket. So Shakin Ander Zach. The ganze Zach is the market is galus. Mashik in shame is also double, but it's an eifin of Vekas that it's not nikir in the shame that calling Yoni is the market. That's what it says. So Rebbe says, where's Shat air is Gili? Air megale samar. Through the air you have a idea in the market. So the Rebbe is saying it as if it's a cheshbon pearl. The pearl, there's a person can recognize from the air which is mispashed from the market, from which market is being mispashed. Whether this is the light of the candle, the light of Levana, the light of the sun. I'm not sure what Eirayim is. There's Eir HaShemesh, Eir HaYem. Basic point, maybe Basic point. What's the shot Eir HaYem, Eir HaShemesh? Maybe it means that different times of the day. Sometimes but there's from the Eir is Nikr the Makir. So
days live without the Shemesh.
It says that. It says, but I don't know. It says that it's the Chodesh Nevei Mitzad Shemesh. No, it says that you're not supposed to do Dika by day, Eir HaNer, because Eir HaNer, even in a dark room, in a room that has no windows, it's going to be less glowing than by night. By night, it's going to glow better. Ein Eir HaNer Mavik Yafe Bayem. They state in Yerushalmi. After Rabbi Shlomo. But Ein Eir HaNer, that's what it means Eir HaYem. But the Nekudas Advarim is, it's not Stama say that it happens to be, say, someone's Mechadish Svara, let's say. So sometimes you're able to tell from the Svara who is the one that's Mechadish Svara. It's typical to this Mechadish Dar. But it's not that the Svara has its own identity. It's a certain Gedank, a certain Svara. Sometimes you're able to trace back the Makir in the Svara. You're able to trace it back. We're saying when you get to Eir, it's not the Pshat that there's Eir that comes from the candle, Eir that comes from the sun, Eir that comes from the Levana. And if you want, you're able to, since it comes from that Makir, you're able to trace back the Chunas of the Makir in the Eir. It's not that you're able to trace back. Since the Makir of this is the Shemesh, therefore you're going to be able to be matched from the Eir some qualities of the Shemesh. The whole Metzias Eir is to make that the Shemesh should be Megillah. There is no identity to the Eir outside of the fact that it's the Shemesh is given. That's the whole Inyan Eir. That the Shemesh should be Mispashit. That his Mahus should be Begolish, should be open. There is no independent Metzias which comes from the Shemesh, which, since it came from him, and therefore you're able to tell some qualities of the Makkah. That's the whole Inyan Eir. The whole Inyan Eir is that the Makkah should be Nizgal. So the Eir is Megale somewhere. In other words, what's the function of the Eir? That you say when you get to Eir HaShemesh is not so mudgish, because Eir HaShemesh, no one's going to say that the purpose of the light is that we should know that there's a sun. Well, there's a light. But Amidas Advarim is the true Mahus of Eir. Why is it that within the nature of the light you're able to tell the Moir? Because the truth is that the Eir is not a davar noisef to the Moir. It's the Moir's given. It's him being open, him being mispash. It's not from him, not something's being resulted of him. It's his Mahus projecting. The Mele and the Inyan is that the whole Inyan of Eir is the Gilei HaMakir. So Mele Kemeder Kennen, in the Eir, the Makir. But Eir Nikr Begilei, the Makir of the Eir. Because that's the whole Metzias Eir, the Gilei HaMakir. Eir HaYerech, Eir HaShemesh, Eir HaYem. Why? Eir HaMoir Begilei. Means there is no Metzias outside of the Moir's Isgalus in the Eir. It's not a Metzias which stems from the Makir. The whole Inyan of Eir is the Gilei HaMoir. K'meisha Eir Atzva doesn't have his own identity. The whole Inyan of Eir is the Moir being Begilui, the Etzem being projected. So derech gam pulos badavar hamur mei Eir is also shabadavar hamur mimenu nikra mumur mei Eir Eirech Eir HaShemesh. There's never a tnua. However far you're going to take Eir, there's never going to be a tnua of a Metzias outside of the Makir. Because it's the Makir's Isgalus. It's not the Makir that the Makir is giving space to create something outside of it, or to be mamshech something. There's him, and him being open and and projecting himself. So there can never come from him, is never going to be a tnua which is not him. So even when you speak about the Eir, which is going to be a pile on a Metzias Shem Bechutz, it's always going to be nirgash, the Makir there. That's what it brings here. But David Amur Mimenu Nikr Mumur Meir Aner Eirech Eir HaShemesh. There's never going to be a tnua of ha'ara outside of the fact that it's this Makir being this guy. Because the whhl tnua of Eir is the Gidei HaMakir. There's no haschol of a Metzias which is not him himself. This is in the Moshe. That maps was in 930, yeah?